Okay, so now we got the NASA inspired intake, and also testing out a new camera today. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna add that little vacuum port that Porsche uses to vacuum out the dust that of the rubber in the timing belt. So this is going to go here, and that's going to give me a nipple-y thing to let's try the old manual focus here. There we go. A nipple-y thing. So here's the intake, and I've taken off this here. So I'm going to cut this, put that in place like that, and then fiberglass the whole thing in place. Okay, so what I'm doing now is going to fiberglass this little piece of a vacuum cleaner in place. So this is like a little piece of a vacuum cleaner, and I just cut it out like that. This is aluminum foil that's here, and this is stuffed with t-shirts behind the aluminum foil. The aluminum foil is taped in place first and then stuffed with t-shirts, so that pushes up on it so that I can fiberglass it and it'll stay pretty much where it's at. If you crumple up aluminum foil, it makes a nice something you can mold the things, basically. So you can see the 917 style intake to the filter itself. That's what you see. This mess on the floor is all what's left over from doing that the other night. So just fell, but anyway, you get the idea. So time to get out some glass and cut some pieces. I'll get them ready to go, and I'll show you how I mix it up. Okay, so I'm ready to pull the trigger on some fiberglass resin. So I've got my pieces cut. As you can see, I cut them just a little. One of them's one grain going one way, the other one's the other grain going the other way. I got my little can there. I cut the can in half, and that allows you to mix up small amounts. The key to this is mixing small amounts at a time. It's a lot easier to just mix it up, see how many drops it takes. By the time you get to your third can of stuff, you'll have it down. It makes it so much easier. You don't waste a lot of stuff. And I can even reuse this can. You can use one can all night long. You know, you can do several different layups. And this one's actually left over from doing the other parts. So when you're done, what you do is you kick out the when it gels up, as it's kicking, as it's hardening, it'll gel up into like a gel. And then what you do is you wait till it's dry, or not totally dry, but it gets pretty jelly, and then you just scoop it out with your stick, and then you're left with a can that's still pretty cleaned out. So, and you know, you don't have to make a big fuss about the can being totally clean on all sides and everything. It's all gonna kick eventually. You know, this isn't a carbon fiber part. This isn't something that's gonna be, you know, looked at all. It won't be seen. We're looking for structure here. Okay, so I've got some resin in here, not very much, because it's cold out, and so this stuff is not going to want to kick very fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a fair amount of drops of the hardener to it, like twice as much as you want, because it's a small pour. I want this thing to dry really quick so I can get up to the next one. Okay, so what I'm doing here is like the stick and dab method. So I'm just dipping it in the resin and then just wetting the cloth. It doesn't take much. It'll soak in over time, and you're just trying to get it all nice and soaked. But this is a little easier than trying to get a brush, because then all you have to clean up is your stir stick. And these things are cheap, so who cares? So I'm gonna get this wet, and then I'm just gonna add more pieces on top until I feel like the resin might be kicking soon, and then I'll just stop. Once I feel the resin kicking, I'll stop where I'm at. So I'm gonna get back to it. Okay, so I'm done with the pour. At least the first one. And when you're doing this stuff, the key is you want to quit while you're ahead, because you can always mix up more and do it again. It's always better to lay a few pieces, see how it goes. It'll slowly develop. Every time you do it, it'll be a little bit different. So you got to kind of be ready to just wing it. It's a lot easier to just wing it than try to plan it all out. There's just too much going on, you know. Fiberglass does weird things. It'll move around when you're trying to get it all wet. So yeah, so I've already got my pile of resin there that's left over. Not very much. So, and the other thing is you don't waste it very much when you do it, because this stuff's really nasty. It's probably, you know, it's not super expensive, but it's, you know, why waste it? It's a lot easier if you don't waste it, because then you got plenty to work on, plenty of projects. Okay, so now I'm ready to do another resin pour. I'm going to catch the back side of this little port guy. As you can see, I got some pieces already cut, just anticipating some shapes that I might need. I'm just going to do it again. Takes 15 minutes or so. Just keep on going. You'll lay it on there and glass it on there, and it's got to, the more times you do it, the easier it gets. Okay, so now I got my little vacuum port in place. I'm going to put some fiberglass on the inside. So for now, I got about 3 or 4 layers on both the bottom and the top, and I'm going to go ahead and put some glass on the inside, but then I'm also going to touch up what's here on the face of this, because as the car got hot, it kind of shaped the fiberglass the way it wanted to way it wanted to be in the car. I don't want it to be that weak, so I'm just going to preserve the original shape that it took, and just add some more glass to it for some strength, and I'll add some on the inside also. And this baby's going to be ready to put some more heat tape on there to give it that cool NASA look, like the NASA lunar lander. The Eagle has landed. Okay, this is the port from the inside there. You can see, there we go, one of the street lamps or something in the port. You guys can see that. There we go. So now I'm going to glass this up inside here. You can see the tape that's still stuck in there from the original pour. What I found is if you use this aluminum tape or as a structural way to hold the fiberglass on the inside, at a certain point in the drying process and curing process, you can usually just pull that tape right out and it'll come right off and separate, like it did with the 917 one. That one I pulled it out just in time, and that's how it's nice and clean looking. So that's the secret with that. So on to the next step. Do the inside. Okay, so now we got top part capped up nicely. With our nice little vacuum tube. Let's see if I can get this thing to focus. What's it doing? Almost looks like a still or something in the moonlight. Full moon out tonight. Making Porsche parts out of Walmart fiberglass. Okay, I am going to put this piece on the top here to finish this off. Over the 6 months of testing with this on my car, it basically warped it a lot. So I've thickened it up a little bit with the fiberglass. I added like 3 or 4 layers, but it was late at night and I got really sloppy at the end. You can see this is just sloppy. But this is some JB Weld, and so I put this on last night in the perimeter of the mount, and then flattened it out. And so now that it's dry, I'm going to cover this whole thing with just one more piece of glass like that, and then call it a day. So, but basically, all I did was I took a garbage can like this. This is basically some kitchen thing. It's actually a bathroom thing. My girlfriend actually uses this on her side of the bed. But all I did was I just did this. I took this and I sprayed Pam all over it. And then I put, you know, basically fiberglass the whole thing and pulled it out. And that's how I got this main barrel. So that's how I did the main barrel. And then I added this hose here, which will come from the air dam on the car, on the front wing, to bring cool air up and a little bit of pressure. Basically just kind of cool this whole thing, because it sits on top of the alternator, which gets hot. So by just having some outside air just coming to the general area, it helps. And there's a little hole here on the bottom, so some of the air will actually spit down into the alternator itself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix this up and do one last layer here. But I just thought it'd be a good way to overview the whole thing at this point. I added this tube, and then somewhere around here is the 917 style cap that goes on the other end. But I'm going to mix this up and let's get it going. I think I could do this without even running out of stuff. So anyway, cheap Bondo fiberglass resin. Get this at Walmart. I would suggest getting a thing of this, and also getting a separate one of hardener, so you have 2, because I've already gone through this one here and this can's only about halfway full, so I've already used twice as much hardener as it comes with. So buy an extra hardener. And I'm doing a really small pour here, so I'm just going to do a tiny bit. That's kind of too much, but always put the lid on this stuff, because without the hardener it'll stay wet forever, and you'll never get it out of whatever you get it on. And then this guy here, I forgot to cut a little hole in here, so you want to cut a little hole in here, and hopefully you don't stab yourself in the hand and blood shoots out everywhere. Okay, no blood everywhere yet, but stick around, you never know. Okay, we're counting drops, so I'm going to do about 20 drops because it's a little warmer out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. If you do too much, it'll just super kick on you super fast, and there's nothing you can do about it when it happens. That's why I do it in this little can. Who cares, you know? You mess it up, you just start over. This is probably less than a shot's worth here. And the other night when I was doing this, it was so cold that I was putting in like twice as many drops. So, but you know, as I was talking about earlier, the more you do this, the easier it gets. The first few times you do it, it's a little scary because you know it's going to dry, and you mix up way too much the first few times. But all I'm doing is I'm just going to drizzle this on to the perimeter, and I'm just going to let it start flowing through. You want to start, a lot of times you want to start in the middle of your, another airplane, start in the middle of your piece, but in the middle of my piece this time there's a hole, so I really don't want to put it on the hole yet. I'll get the hole eventually, but you kind of want to seal it first someplace that is gonna stick real well, and a lot of times that's kind of the middle of the part, because you don't want to start messing with these edges until you got most of this wetted out. So now that I've got it kind of going, I can speed things up a little bit by doing a little drizzle like that, like if you're doing a cake or whatever people do. I don't know what people do. And then of course then you can start seeing through it, and that's how you know, of course, that it's that's fully wetted. And so I've got it anchored here in the middle. So all my strokes now are going to be going out. Now you can use a brush for this, and I've got a brush right here. I've got a brush here. Yeah, see, this stuff sticks like crazy. So you know, you could go like this and dab it like that, but I really don't want to, because I really don't want to shove down these areas in between where there's going to be a little void in there, but it doesn't matter. A little bit of void actually gives you even that much better cooling effect. So now I'm getting towards the edge, and I want to just allow that to just peanut butter itself around. I like making up my own words, shows visutivity. See that? So this will get messy real fast if you don't keep this stuff under control. So you take this junk like that, and you just get rid of that, because it's just going to get in your way. See, I'm just letting gravity do the work. You don't have to do too much. Now, if you really wanted to do this neat, you would have more of an overlap, which gravity will hold these fibers down, because these fibers are going to be a pain later. But I'm in a hurry. My girlfriend wants to do dinner, so I'm just gonna, I'll do this, and then anything that's left over I'll just sand off later. I'm not gonna fuss this one too much. I could have maybe even just done without it, but I made the mess, and so I figured I might as well do a little bit more before I clean this mess up, because this is messy, but it's not too bad. You could do it, you know, you could do it in your kitchen or something if you wanted to. That's normally where I would do something like this, but My girl doesn't want to smell it, of course. I don't blame her. It doesn't bother me too much, but if you do, like I did some skimboards back in the day, and you do a skimboard size of this in a garage, and you will start passing out. You know, so you want to be in a ventilated area when you do this. Alright, heading to work again. Car's just running smooth as butter now. Wow, this is so nice. Forgot my hat again. I'm gonna put another pair of sunglasses up here. There we go. So anyway, so this weekend the project is going to be the cold air intake. It's going to be a combination cold air intake and a ram air intake. Even though the ram really isn't doing any ramming, it's more just circulating air through the air box. So it'll basically double the input area that air gets into the air box from the factory stock, while still retaining the cold air aspect of it, where the only air that's getting to the engine is coming from outside the engine compartment. That's really, you know, what a cold air setup does, is it basically just grabs air outside the car. You know, it's not going to give you horsepower or whatever. It's, you know, only at open throttle on a, you know, really well-tuned engine would you even be able to tell the difference on a dyno, you know, on a car like this. So, but the main thing is I want heat to be as minimal as possible. I got this thing running so cold right now that basically I could unhook the fans and still drive around in this you know, winter weather here in Southwest Florida and probably not even have a problem. So that's the key. Get all your cooling issues sorted out. Get all your oiling issues. Make sure all your oil is good. Make sure your cooling is all good. Make sure your all your electrical is all. You know, then you can start playing around with things like, you know, different air filters and this and that. But one thing you definitely don't want to do, which I'm going to say right off the bat, is you don't want to do a straight ram air thing where you just hook up a scoop on the front of the car and ram it into your engine, because what'll happen is you're getting too much air in, because you're compressing that air down, and a Porsche's the 944's system, especially with the barn door, isn't really designed to deal with pressure over atmospheric. It's designed to work with a little bit of vacuum, because that's how the factory airbox is. That factory restriction is there for a reason, so you don't want to mess with that too much. So if you run too much air being rammed into your engine, what you'll end up with is a lean situation, and that can burn a piston. It can cause all kinds of issues. You don't want to over ram it. I did a lot of experiments over the years with my Mitsubishi, and I tried a straight ram on it one time. The computer just shut the car down. It was like, no. But an old 944 isn't going to do that. It's going to run until it breaks. So keep that in mind when you start playing around with a lot of this stuff. So anyway, I'm going to get to work, and I did a lot of fiberglassing this week on various parts of that system, and I'll be putting it all together hopefully this weekend. Consider the following. Okay, I'm at the garage here at work, and what I'm going to do is I want to cut a hole in the fiberglass that will allow this to pass through it, so that this will be on the inside. So I'm using this plate as a guide for my hole saw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a smaller hole saw that fits in here. That'll give me my center right here, because the mounting holes were already there. So I'm just using this to locate my center. And then I'm going to use this hole saw because that's the same diameter as what's poking through here, what's going to poke through the box. Because I want to seal this plate to the mass airflow sensor and then pass that into the box so that there's only one gasket between the mass airflow sensor and the actual air filter. That way, no matter what happens with this box, it's not responsible for sealing anything. All it's doing is just handling the outside air. Okay, so before I take this intake apart, I want to get a nice baseline here, my vacuum situation. Because I've got a vacuum gauge on the dash, but just for now, I'm just using this little gauge. Okay, so this is all with the stock setup, and it's just a question now of taking it all apart and putting it all back together, like I'm having so much fun doing every weekend. Welcome to the 944 Club. You can be just like us. It won't hurt a bit. What we have here is the parts that are going to replace the stock intake parts. So here's my quasi air box, and this flange piece fits into this hole, and then cone filter goes in there like that. Okay. Pretty simple. Then this is the cool air that comes in from the front bumper. Comes in, swirls around, and then this is the what I call the 917 cap, because it looks like something would be on a 917. This is what happens with fiberglass when you make it real thin like this. But this is really hard. This is about 4 layers, but oh, see, there you go. It's hard. This is the imprint from the aluminum tape that formed the mold. So what you do is you make something out of aluminum tape, gives you a smooth surface, fiberglass over the top of it, and then before this all cures, when this is dry but not cured all the way, you can pull all this stuff out from inside, leaving you a relatively smooth surface. So this guy goes together like this, and it's really a snug fit. And then that goes in a place of the stock, where the stock air comes in. And so then this will go to the outside of the car. And then this is Lindsey Racing mass airflow sensor. If you've got a 944, just get one of these. It comes with a little chip. It's a little bit of a pain to solder it, but it's not too bad if you have to add a few pins to your ECU. So then this will fit onto the plate like this. So this whole system then all goes in the car just like that. And well, it's got, I put 2 holes here for the stock bracket. It's gonna have the stock bracket for now, just because I don't have time to fabricate something, but you get the idea. So the reason why this all looks kind of messy is because it's all a prototype. My plan is that when I get this all settled and all the engineering's done, then I can make one out of carbon fiber. That's the goal down the road. But this is just what I did to get the thing going, get the project going, because you never know what's going to happen until you start building stuff. So
the way I engineer something is I just find what materials I can work with, and I just get started on it, because you can design yourself into oblivion on something like this. I mean, I didn't even make any measurements when I did this guy. I just held this, and this was on the car, and I just held, literally took a Coke bottle like this, which I have a lot of, and just literally just held it up to this in the spot that it went, like that, and started taping it together, and then I stuffed it, and I taped it all up with aluminum tape, covered it in fiberglass, and that's what you get. So yeah, so not much to look at. We'll see how well it works. I'm getting pretty good at these intake systems. I'll talk more about my Mitsubishi and maybe in this episode, but done a lot of experiments with different intakes, different RAM setups. I've tried everything over the years. Hey baby, yeah, I gotta tell you something. I found something better.
You're going to leave me? Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
You can't leave me. I'm German. I have to call my mom.
Now don't go to pieces on me. So here she is. This baby's ready to rock and roll. Looks like it could go on a lunar lander or a 917 or something. It's like if 917 had sex with the lunar lander and made an intake, this is what it looked like. You got your Lindsey Racing mass airflow sensor, main airbox, cone filter in there. This is the tube that goes to the timing chain and all that housing over here on this side. This goes out the same way as the original 944 intake, and then this guy here drops down behind the alternator, goes around to the front air dam where it gets cooler air piped in. I say cooler because it's Florida, cooler than what's inside here. And this is just some heat reflective tape. You can see this stuff is really reflective, and I think I first made this like a year ago, so this stuff really stays shiny, you know, pretty well. It holds up. It's actually really strong, and the adhesive works pretty good. I mean, it's really amazing stuff. It wasn't even that expensive on eBay, so check that stuff out if you want to do something cool like this. So this is ready to go in the car like this, nice and simple. I have to put it on a scale, see what it actually weighs, but I bet it weighs less than the stock thing. Plus you've basically, you know, at least doubled the amount of air coming in, especially because you got this blowing in. So this thing's going to have plenty of air in it. Whether or not the cooler air makes any difference in horsepower. When it's 98 degrees in Florida, you know, I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but you know, it's better to have cooler air. You know, instead of just, especially at stoplights, where you're just recycling the air over and over and over again. So, I'm ready to put this baby in. Now I just gotta wait for the rain to stop. Alright, this is the money shot. It's looking good so far. Nicely packaged in there. You can see where the line comes through. And then up here, you can just make out that tube. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's in there. And so this tube here acts like a draw tube because there's most likely a negative pressure in this wheel well. So as we get up to speed, it's going to actually suck air through that tube coming the other way. So at slow speeds, it gives you more air to come in, and at high speeds, the flow theoretically could start going back the other way. It all depends on how fast you're going and the diameter of all this tubing. Okay, here she is. Pretty much the same as it was before. That's nice. Watch this needle. Oh yeah, it's liking that. Lots of air. All right, let's take it for a spin, see what happens. Okay, so heading to the yacht today. So I got my yachting clothes on. I'm gonna be doing some work for my buddy on his 40-footer, and it is a yacht because it says that on the side with the Y and the extra T and all that. So anyway, look at this. I haven't seen my breath. I don't even know in how long. Maybe at least a year. I don't know how. I can't remember when it's been this cold in Florida. I don't even know what temperature it has to get down to see your breath. But anyway, I got the new intake on there, and I drove it around last night. And oh man, just all the difference in the world. It drives like a modern car now. I have to make a special note about that though, is that this is an automatic car, so I've got the cam that's got the extra Lobe thing on it, and so by having a less restrictive intake, it's similar as far as the cylinders are concerned to just putting on the throttle cam and getting that throttle opened up a little quicker when you're driving. The downside to that for an automatic car is it makes your throttle really hard to press, because your throttle also has to control your transmission, so the transmission knows if you're trying to go faster or you're slowing down. So on a manual car, I'd say get the throttle cam. On an automatic car like mine, what I've done is open up the intake so it breathes a lot better. Now, putting a better breathing intake on your 944, even if it is manual, is gonna help, because you're just getting that much more air into the engine, and especially with the way I've got it set up, where it's actually blowing cooler air from the outside in, and if there's any excess, it actually kicks it out. So all you're doing is putting that fuel filter element in an area where there's a lot of turbulent air that is cool, which is what you want. You want that air to just mix up real nice. You don't want it to have a higher temperature or a lower temperature at any given time. You want it to be nice and consistent going into the engine. That's how you get your optimum fuel economy, and that's also how you get the nicest drivability. So heading to work, and it is cold. Wow, is it cold? My hands are cold. I gotta get some gloves just to drive the car. I can roll the windows up, but I got no heat in here anyway, so it really doesn't even matter.